Today's conversation was extremely impactful and very real. A few things that you're going to take away from this is one, the power of intentional connection. Rob is meeting 10,000 people around the world. I mean, that's really how you learn to connect with other humans. Another one is embracing vulnerability in conversations, the journey over the destination, as well as really creating space for other people's stories, aligning with your purpose and taking action, and all about empathy. So get ready. This is going to be a powerful, powerful story. It doesn't matter if you are driving, if you are at the gym, whatever you're doing, get ready.
Yeah, thank you, Jess. It's good to see you again. I was looking back on when we met for my project. I don't know if you remember when it was, but it was May of 2018. So
Okay,
it's been,
I was thinking about it right before this, and I was like, was it 16, 17, 8? It was either between 16 to 2019 is what I was remembering. Yeah.
yeah, May. Here, I think I have it. It was May 27th of 2018.
Wow.
You
That's
were the
hilarious.
you were the 6,837th person that I'd met. No. You were the 1,837th. Now I'm at 6,811.
Oh
So it's
my
almost
gosh. So since
5,000
then, it's
people
been
ago.
5,000 more people.
Yeah, which is
Whoa.
crazy.
That's crazy. You want to know actually something really funny? I was thinking about this too. So there was a lady named Tammy that had met you like probably a little bit before I did. And then I went on and she ended up finding me. And there were some similarities between myself and her daughter, Nikki.
Hmm.
And then we connected, and she's now been to three of my retreats, joined one of my masterminds. I helped her create like become a dating coach, all this stuff. And she's now a really good friend. And so
No
it's
way.
so funny that like over the course of, yeah, however many years ago that was, like we've been in each other's life because of you and her mom's conversation and then you and I meeting.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. I love stuff like that. I feel like it's the beauty of connection, right? Because you don't
Mm-hmm.
need to have, for me, I'm always meeting people with no particular agenda. And I think a lot of people think, well, like, why would you do that? What's the
Mm-hmm.
value of that? And it's like, it's exactly that. You just open yourself up to whatever the value can become. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to hear that. I always love hearing stories like that.
Yeah, I thought I would tell you because I was like, you know what? Like, if it honestly wasn't for you stepping out and doing what you felt that your yes was, like,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be happening. So I just thank you.
Yeah.
And also to Tammy, if you're listening.
Yeah. And hi.
Yeah, I love it. So, what I am curious, actually, I want to know first, what's something that you love about yourself in your life right now?
I just put up a new piece of art in my apartment. Here, I'll show you.
Yeah, I would love to
Uh,
see it.
it's right there. Well, it's
The one on the left or the right?
the one with the little characters, the bigger
Oh,
one.
cool.
It's Keith Haring and I think Andy Warhol as
Oh,
well.
whoa.
The other one I'd had, but it's I've been so when you and I met, I was back and forth across the country between Philly and LA,
Mm,
and I was staying with my college roommate in LA because he had an extra bedroom in his apartment there.
mm,
And so I had nothing of my own. Like I was always just my suitcase because I would go from my parents' house to his place, and very lucky that I was going to fully furnished places each time. And there was no settling down in my life at that time. It was just building, building, building. And I moved into this place 2.5 years ago, and it came fully furnished. So like this art is not mine, for example.
hmm.
And I was like, I'm not going to change it. But I feel like the art is kind of a representation of the fact that I'm now in a more stable place financially where I can settle into where I am a little bit like I just got a mirror to replace that.
Oh my
But it's cool because I feel like I'm finally creating my own space after years of having to rely on other people
mm,
for me to live in their space
mm.
to kind of make that sacrifice to continue the stream.
Wow. So, okay, can you give a little bit of backstory? Because I actually wanted to ask you about that. Like, how did you go around from place to place and like financially provide for yourself, all that stuff? But I
Yeah,
guess let's backtrack and
sure.
share like how you even ended up here, how that all happened, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
So I started this journey to spend an hour one-on-one with 10,000 people on November 11th of 2015. And prior to that, I went to Penn State, studied finance, minored in accounting and entrepreneurship, and graduated 2013 and started doing consulting for Deloitte. So I was on a very traditional path. Like, had a girlfriend at the time that my family really liked, and at that point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make partner at Deloitte. I'll propose to this girl when I'm 26. We'll get married at 28, have kids at 30, all that.
Whoa,
Basically,
you had the whole plan.
yeah, basically what all of my friends did.
Wow.
And I kind of veered off of. But yeah, I minored in entrepreneurship, and I was always interested in creating my own path. And when I got to Deloitte, I was coming off of so much connection at Penn State, so much authentic connection because I just joined clubs and activities when I was there.
Hmm.
Both my older siblings went there, so I kind of had an idea of what I could get involved in.
Hmm.
And I had my hand in a lot of different things. And I went from a place of really feeling like I was part of a community and feeling like I made an impact on that community to being in the cubicle of an office at Deloitte, feeling like the best thing I could do was take notes on calls or format the PowerPoint slides or Excel sheets.
Hmm.
And there was no connection, and that was a big struggle for me. So I think once you remember like Instagram in 2015, 2016, for Do You Travel is an account that I remember. It was like the first travel
Mm-hmm.
influencer that I saw where you're like, wow, people are living these really crazy lives.
Hmm.
And back then, people were documenting the lives that they were authentically living. They weren't fabricating lives to build
Right.
followers.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I love connection. I think it'd be really cool if I met 10,000 people for an hour each. That would get me back to the connection that I felt in college.
Hmm.
And maybe I could somehow turn that into my career. So I left Deloitte after a year and 3 months. Just naturally, I went to a tech startup that I had heard about. And when, when I was at Deloitte is when I first thought of this project. I first thought of this in January of 2014. And then I left Deloitte. I went to this tech startup. I moved from the suburbs of Philly into the city for that job. And when I was in the city, I was feeling the same way. So I was like, maybe I should actually start this project. So I think it was September of 2015, I started reaching out to people. And then November, I had my first meeting. And then over the next 8 months, I met about 100 more people. And then at the end of those 8 months, the company I worked for was acquired and I was laid off. So I had met like 100 people for this. I had just started getting a small press in Philly. And I decided, okay, I'll jump into this full time and I'll do it 2 to 3 months full time. And if it's going well, I'll continue. And if not, I'll go back into consulting. So I kind of just gave myself like a little opportunity to work on it. And then the more I did it, the more committed I became to it. And I had 11 months left on my lease here in Philly when I was laid off. So when that ended, my roommate from Penn State was like, I have an extra bedroom in my apartment. If you want to come here, I can just host you. You don't have to pay rent. And he was like, stay as long as you need to. So I went to LA for the summer of 2017. And in my mind, I was like, okay, something has to happen there for me to continue doing this. And nothing happened. I just met more people. But then I came back to Philly and I was like, okay, well, just through the end of the year, I'll continue doing this. And because I wasn't making any money during this time. And uh, then I actually went back to LA for 9 months in 2018, which is the time period that we met in. And yeah, during that summer of 2018, I had $500 left to my name. So I thought that I was going to do social media partnerships and like eventually get to that point where I was able to work with brands that cared about human connection. And I was able to do that to an extent. Like 2018 summer, I met May around the same time we met, I guess. I met Matt from Yes Theory,
Oh, he's
which
one of
is
my
how
best friends.
yeah, which is how like that line is how you and I met because Zach, I forget how to pronounce his last name. It starts with a C, Zach.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, he and when I look back at you and me, that's how we met was through Zach. But I
Oh,
met Zach through Matt, and I met Matt through Ryan Westberg, who
that's
ran Inside.
hilarious. I just saw Matt yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell him I say hello if you see him.
I love it. Great.
But yeah, so like they had posted about me to the Yes Theory Instagram stories, and a bunch of people found me through that. And then a couple months later, I was on Ryan Seacrest's radio show, and then uh, I used that to land a partnership with WeWork, the co-working space.
Yeah.
And then I started to make some money that way, but it was still not enough to live. And then eventually I got into keynote speaking. So that's a lot of background, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah.
dive into it. But
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
So there's so much in there. So one, just to, okay, let go back a little bit because you had a background in entrepreneurship, and so you had this idea, you wanted to do something with it. So it sounded like, at least from what I'm hearing, that you were at Deloitte and you had this idea pop up. And so during that time, were you thinking, okay, this is going to be my career now? Like this is what I'm going to turn into entrepreneurship? Or did it start with, I want to meet these people, see where it goes? Like what was that? What was going on in your head?
I was thinking, okay, like how could I create a career out of meeting people? And then
Mm,
when I had this concept, I was like, oh, okay, I feel like this is a way that I can do that. So yeah, a lot of people with the journey are always like, oh, did you ever think it was going to get this big? And I'm like, yeah, of course. I didn't. I thought it was going to be much bigger than this. Like I planned to make
like
this
I thought it
into
was going
my.
to happen year one.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I wanted this to be my career. Like I was or people were like, oh, did you start with one person and then you just were like, oh, okay, someday I'll get to like down the line, you figured I'll grow this to 10,000 people. And I was like, no, it was always 10,000 people one-on-one for
Mm,
1 hour each from the start. And it was always something that I had hoped to turn into my career. And like I was very
mm.
intentional about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's interesting because it's different for everyone. Like some people have an idea and they're just like, I'm just going to act on it. I don't know where it's going. And then it
Mhm.
turns into something like I never imagined. But
Sure.
it's you had like a very intentional thing. And then it was a little bit, I mean, it did turn into your career, but it was a little bit the opposite where it was a lot longer. It wasn't taking, the money wasn't coming in right away. So what was that final, I guess, yes pull for you of when you got laid off from the startup where you were like, okay, cool, I'm just going in full time? Like what was going on in like your head, your heart? Like even though you didn't know where the finances were coming from,
Mhm.
what was like that process like?
I think I was just excited by the adventure
Mm,
of it. Like it wasn't it felt more difficult to do the project uh because I was 25 when I took it full time.
mm,
And for me to take that leap, like that was the big yes, was going into this full time instead of looking for another full time job. And that came with a lot of judgment from the people around me of like, what are you doing with your life? And uh, but I was just so interested in turning this into something,
mm,
but it still didn't feel like a huge thing at the time because now in hindsight, I can see that my friends were in the same stage as me at that time. I didn't really see yet the sacrifices that I would have to make to keep this going.
mm,
So probably like that was the big yes, but I think the harder yes was being like 30 years old during COVID, like living back at my parents' place in my childhood bedroom because I couldn't afford to move out.
mm,
When my friends at that point were building their families and they had their first house already and they had their promotions and their jobs and they had their dogs. So it was very clear that they had all moved one way and I had moved the other way. And
mm,
like, you're kind of out on this island by yourself, which never really bothered me because I was like, there's multiple right paths for people in life. Like
mm,
at 30, I don't think I would have been, if I at 30 had a 9 to 5 job and a mortgage payment and a family, I'd be like, man, I feel so claustrophobic right now. Like,
mm,
I
mhm,
wanted to build my future on a platform of freedom, freedom
mm,
to choose where and how I spent my time. Uh, and now I feel like I'm starting to get to that point through the speaking, which is great.
mm.
But yeah, I just was attracted to the adventure of it. I don't know if you know The Buried Life. Are you
Yeah, yeah,
familiar with
yeah.
that?
Hmm.
I ran into Ben Nenton last week at the airport. We were both traveling to Nashville
Aw,
or we were waiting for our Ubers in Nashville, but that show was the biggest, I think, inspiration for me because I
wow.
watched that when I was a senior in high school and a freshman in college. that's
Mm,
why Yes Theory was interesting to me because they
mhm,
were the first people that I had seen recapture that spirit of the buried life.
wow.
And I was like, man, if the buried life existed in the day of YouTube, they would have crushed it. But uh,
Mm,
so I wanted to live a life that felt like that show. And
mm,
this project made me feel like that show. So that's what was going on. It's like, oh, okay, I finally feel like I'm in this path.
mm.
And potentially there's a way for me to turn this path into my future.
Wow. So with that, you said something really profound where you were like, yes, it that yes where you stepped in for the first time, okay, I'm going all in, but then the yes at 30 years old, years later, where it didn't turn into that dream fast enough and you still chose it. So
Mhm.
what were things going on in your life and in your head and to stick true to that vision where you could have been like your friends and like, okay, fine, I'll just go ahead and go to this corporate job or I'll go ahead and back to consulting, and you kept through. Like, yeah, what helped you through that?
I always said that the me who's met 10,000 people is more valuable than the me who would have made partner at Deloitte. And I
Wow.
was like, it's just the in between of how you get there is much less stable.
Hmm.
So I never lost sight of the me at the on the other end being successful.
Mm.
And I think stuff that always helped me too was, I mean, there's so many, I'm sure you felt it as well. And everyone does, so many cycles of confidence and doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I would always, like, there was always, if I looked back at the data of my life since I started the project, there was always something really cool coming down the pipe that I couldn't have been anticipated. So the whole like meeting Matt from yesterday was one of those things because it was the first time that I had really been put on the map to a certain audience per se. Because after I met Matt, I think I feel like Instagram was so different back then, but
It was, yeah.
I had like 2,000 people start following me overnight, and I got like 100 messages from people all over the world. And then a month later, I went surfing with one of their video interns, Brad Lancaster, who
Mm,
is now he has his own channel, Discover Connection, which is taking off, which is great.
mm,
And uh, I was at the Yes house, and because we went surfing at like 6 in the morning, and my first meeting was in Venice at noon. So I had time to meet one of the other guys that we were surfing with, and Amar took a 10-second video of me and put it on their Instagram stories. And then overnight, I had like 4,000 people start following me, and I got 400 messages from all over the world. And I was like, wow, this is crazy that all these people are reaching out to me. And so things like that would happen in October of 2020. My brother was like, you should put out a TikTok video and just say, hey, I'm doing this thing. Like, if you want to be part of it, message me. So I did that, and then Zach King, who's really big on TikTok, commented, and then he shot me a message on Instagram, and he was like, "Hey, I want to be part of your thing." And
mm,
so that was really cool. And like right before that, Drew Scott from the Property Brothers, he and his wife had me on their podcast, and it like in 2019, Kelly Clarkson's show reached out to me. So all of these things were unexpected things that happened. So I was like, if I just keep going long enough, the next unexpected big thing will happen. That will
mm,
kind of like you think about it like Mario Kart when you would go over the little turbo boost.
mm-hmm.
It shoots you forward a little bit more. So yeah, a lot of it was like recognizing that in the long term I was going to be okay, and in the short term there were going to be unexpected things that were going to help me along the way.
Hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. So, what would you say to somebody that is in that kind of messy middle where it just doesn't seem like it's progressing? There's challenge, there's sacrifice. What would you tell them?
From a very logical standpoint, like look for the validation. I mean, the validation for me, and validation is tricky too, because
Mm-hmm.
like you don't need other people's validation. But what I saw through my project is there were people who were excited to be part of it on a day-to-day basis.
Mm,
And they were telling me how cool they thought it was and how they felt it was inspirational. So that was keeping me going, knowing that these people had this interest. And then, like, the fact that the press was reaching out to me, I was like, okay, they think that if Kelly Clarkson is reaching out to me, obviously it's got to be of a certain level of interest, right?
mm,
Otherwise, the show's not going to hit me up, or Ryan Seacrest or Zach King.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, those things were super important for me as well. Another thing I asked myself, because in 2018, I was approaching $0 in my bank account, and that can be
Mm,
really scary.
mm-hmm.
And I think our fear kicks in a lot earlier than the true end of what we're doing.
Mm,
So I just kind of pushed past that, and I was like, okay, well, what happened? Because I think a lot of people would quit before they even got close to that point.
mm-hmm.
And I just asked myself, what would happen if I hit $0 in my bank account? Like, that's what I'm imagining is the worst case scenario. But if that were to truly happen, I could do a GoFundMe. I could go back and get a part-time job. I could get a full-time job. There are so many different paths forward. They
Mm,
just weren't the path I originally had planned for myself.
mm-hmm.
And I literally, when I was living in LA, we wrote on my friend's mirror, "The end is never the end." It's from a
Mm,
Kid Cudi song, but it just became my mantra because I was like, the end is never the end. There's always a path forward.
mm,
And I would ask myself, have I really explored every option to make this work? And the
mm,
answer was always no. I was like, okay, well, if I haven't left it all on the field and explored everything, then I'm just quitting. It doesn't
mm,
mean it wouldn't have worked. It just means I'm tired. And I also always ask myself, like, is it impossible or are you just exhausted? And
mm.
oftentimes it's just you're exhausted.
Well, so what happens when you're exhausted? Like, how do you keep going, or how do you either get that momentum or vitality back, or yeah, what do you do?
For me, it was just, I always believed, and that's how I managed the cycles of confidence and doubt too. It's like my emotion is not what's going to move me forward. The thing that's going to make me successful with this is meeting people.
Mm,
So it's like defining the action that moves you forward. And for me, that action was meeting 4 people a day. Because I always it's like it's the people who that I meet that are going to help push me forward in this path. So
mm,
it didn't matter if I was feeling really great about the project or if I was feeling really scared about it. If I met 4 people a day, I was moving the needle either way.
mm,
So I think you have to like define what that action is for you and then jump into a very stoic mindset of it's just like I picture it like climbing a mountain, and I'm still doing that today. And I would love to take 4 steps a day towards that mountain. And sometimes I'll have 2 people cancel, and I can only take 2 steps. But I'm
mm.
still going to take those 2 steps and do what's in my control. So, yeah, I think figuring out the action is a big thing. And kind of with that is the difference between being busy and being productive.
Yeah, what's that been like for you?
A lot of different things. Specifically, I think about that when it comes to speaking, because I initially dropped from 4 meetings a day to 3 meetings a day, and I come from a sales background at the startup, so I was like, I'm gonna do 3 meetings a day, and then I'll use that extra 2 hours to to message a bunch of companies and stuff and ask them if they can hire me to speak. And I was sending out a bunch of emails and cracking people's emails and looking up like how to personalize the message and everything. And literally nothing came of it. So like I was super busy during that time, but it
Mm,
was not productive at all. And then as I started to pay attention to how I was landing the gigs that I was getting, it was a lot of people that I'd met through my project connecting me with opportunities that they knew of. So
mm.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually just wasting my time here. I'm going to go back up to 4 meetings a day because that's productive, not
Oh,
busy.
wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool because it's true. I think anybody, I mean, myself included, I have to stop myself all the time and be like, is what you're doing actually moving the needle forward? Or are you just doing a bunch of stuff to do a bunch of stuff that you think is working? And
Yeah.
so going back to that drawing board of like, wait a minute, what actually has been working? And I love that point. So for example, like with the stuff now, did you ever, or do you ask the people that you talk to now, or ever go back and ask people, hey, do you by chance know of somewhere I can speak, or this type of company, or does it actually happen organically, or what does that look like today?
Yeah, it happens organically. I mean, there have been times where uh I've put out like Instagram stories. I got my many of my first gigs that way because I did a TEDx talk in April of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also did my first paid speaking engagement in April 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Thanks to this girl, Brittany, that I had met, who was a student at the University of Washington at the time. I think
Cool.
she is in the Yes Theory lineage too, of how she found out of about my project. But uh, so I did my first paid gig April of 2021, and then that May I lost my voice, so I couldn't have my meetings.
Oh,
And
whoa.
I was like, okay, I need to do something. So I put out an Instagram story, and I just said, hey, I want to land 10 gigs by August 15th. Like, who should I talk to? And people replied, and they were like, talk to this person at my school or talk to this person at my company.
Mm,
And yeah, one of my favorite quotes is the audience cannot see what you do not give them to see.
I love that.
So it's like without me voicing that I was looking for speaking gigs, the people who could make the connections weren't going to make them.
Mm,
And so I just put it out there, and then people were like, yeah, I can help you. And they'd been following my project, so they wanted to help me succeed.
mm-hmm.
And then along the way, it would just happen naturally. I think speaking is an interesting, like, kind of push-pull career because obviously, like, you want to be booked all the time and like work with all the bureaus and have the cool gigs, but they don't want to work with you until you no longer need them. And so there's like you have to like
Mm,
create the demand around yourself without seeming like you want it type thing. And
yeah.
uh but yeah, I would meet people through my project. I met a compounding pharmacist a few years ago, and he was like, "Oh, I'm part of a an association for compounding pharmacists. Maybe we could hire you to speak." And then he told his CEO about me, and they had were planning a panel for their conference that didn't work out, so they needed a closing keynote speaker. So like a week later, they hired me to speak a few months down the line, and then it's crazy that CEO, I asked him who are two people that you know who could benefit from my message, and he gave me two names, and the one just like I reached out to her, she was like thanks but no thanks, and then the other one didn't have anything for me at the time, but then she ended up hiring me to speak in India for a conference there, and then this past fall they hired me again to speak in Berlin. So I've been like traveling the world thanks to this random connection.
Wow, that's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it sounds like people that, and I've always believed that too. That's usually where things come for me is people experience you, they get to know who you are, they want to support you, and then
Hmm.
they're the ones that are sharing about it because obviously, us going out and somebody doesn't know us, it's like, hey, we would be great to like come show up here. But if it's somebody that they value and trust and is like, hey, this is somebody that um, we could really benefit from them. That's amazing that that's happened. What do you think for people that um I'm just trying to think of like people that don't have a big following or they don't have something even yet. Like, how would they even start on a journey of maybe speaking or something like that? Or what's even the first part to even get started in something like that?
In speaking,
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to have something to speak about, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's
when you did your TED Talk, for example, how did you craft that? And obviously through your experience about human connection, but did
Mhm.
you go in intentionally and you were like, okay, I need to craft this specific message? Yeah, how did that go?
I yeah, a lot of it is just trying to figure it out because I mean, I
Mm,
read there's a book called Talk Like TED that I read, was watching other people's TED Talks or TEDx Talks, and for me, it was just okay. I have to sit. It was the first time that I had to sit down and really think about what I'd learned from this project.
mm.
I was just talking with this guy that I met uh, on Saturday for my project. He's like a immersive theater guy. He does shows for an audience of one,
Oh,
which
I
is the
love
person
that.
who hires him, and super cool stuff. And artists always understand my project very well because uh, I was like, I'm happy to do it and not like do research on it or not have to do these big reflections on it.
Mm,
Obviously, speaking, you need to do that if you want to share what you've learned with an audience. But uh, yeah, up until that point, I hadn't really sat down and been like, okay, what could I teach other people based on what I'd learned?
mm,
So it was just thinking like, what do I feel is the value I can pass on to other people?
Mhm.
And it was like talking about the how much my sense of belonging felt like it had increased, or how much my perspective had expanded through meeting other people, or the different doors that had opened for me in the future
Mhm.
because of people that I were meeting, and other stories of people that had chance connections that inspired me. It's like I wanted other people to understand the value that can come of just sitting down with another person, and the best way to convince them to do that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, for me, getting into speaking, by the time because I met this girl, Michelle Pollard, in 2019,
Mhm.
and she was doing really well with speaking, and she said that there was room for me in the industry. So that was what inspired me to look into it.
It's awesome.
Because at the time, I still had like no money. In 2019, I had my partnership with WeWork, but before that kicked in, the difference between my bank account and my credit card statement was $200.
Hmm.
So I was cutting it very close. And yeah, and she was talking about making money during speeches, and I was like, "You're making more money in a 1 hour talk than I'd made in the last 5 years. How do I get into that?" And by that point, I had Ryan Seacrest. I was just about to do Kelly Clarkson's talk show, and those things helped me open the door. Like a lot of the early people would be like, "Okay, well, where have you spoken?
Mhm.
And what have they said?" And I'm like, "Nowhere, but here's me on Kelly Clarkson talking about my project." And they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay, that's interesting."
Mhm.
So yeah, but it's one of the things that I've been lucky with is there's not other people trying to meet 10,000 people for an hour each.
Right. Like
So
this
my
is a one person in the world is doing this.
Yeah, so my especially if people are talking about building connections at their events, or they want to talk about engagement and retention of talent, or how to create a good workplace culture,
Mhm.
my story just cuts through the noise a lot.
Mm.
Like you could probably find like 100 different speakers about burnout or leadership in the workplace and this and that. But because my project is so odd, it's like it's always been that way. It's caught people's attention very easily. But yeah, not to say that other people can't do that, but you do have to have something that you want to talk about in some angle, some creative angle that you can take to it. But the thing I love about speaking too is it's kind of, you can just become a speaker. Like you just do free events, and then you get footage of yourself, and you learn how to move an audience, and then you do paid events and you get better footage of yourself on bigger
Mhm.
stages, and then you start to build up your brand of, okay, here's the 5 companies that I've spoken for, here's the 20 companies I've spoken for,
Mhm.
and then you start to get the referrals. So it's possible, but yeah, it just takes a little bit of creativity.
Totally. Did you ever have a fear of public speaking, or because what it sounds like is this wasn't necessarily like your plan was to do speaking. So did that terrify you in any way? Did it excite you? Like what type of personality are you to get in front of a room and speak?
I used I It's interesting because yes, it terrified me. It
Mm.
still terrifies me. I'm in a
Mhm.
good place now. I feel comfortable because I've just been speaking a lot recently.
Mhm.
But um, I used to love it as a kid. I was in the speech club in sixth, seventh, eighth grade, and I was like, give me the mic. I want to be in the front of the room. I want to be
Mhm.
leading. Like I had no fear. And then I don't know if it was just high school insecurities or whatever. Like I started to get really scared
Mm.
to speak in front of a crowd, and probably like got scared one time, and then that it scarred me. And then but then
Mhm.
I was the valedictorian of my high school, so I gave the valedictorian speech, and that was like a big thing. But then throughout college, I you had to take a speech class in college, and they had an option that if you were too nervous to do it, you could take like a lower or like an easier speech class, and I opted into that because I was so scared of the regular one.
Oh, well.
So it's weird that I'm now doing speeches as a career. But yeah, it terrified me. It still does. I like I'm in a good place now, but I wouldn't be surprised if 6 months from now I'm like terrified again. I ebb and flow with it. But I've always been like, this is the best way for me to financially support myself. It's the
Mm.
most authentic way for me to support myself. I
Mm,
actually do love like getting up in front of an audience and the feeling afterwards where you
mm-hmm.
know you've made an impact on them and you get to hear people's stories.
Mm,
So I got to that point where I was like, it doesn't matter if you're scared, like you're going to figure it out. This is
totally.
how you're going to be supporting yourself. So
Yeah.
like there's no way out from here. But yeah, a lot of like meditation, trying to frame it correctly in my mind, making it about the audience instead of myself.
Mm,
Uh, and yeah, so and I've always thought that way too. I was like, oh, if I get comfortable on stage, like then I'll become dangerous because
yeah.
the only thing that's holding me back right now is like I'm scared. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
not scared of being on stage, like I have so many stories to make an impact on people. And if I can figure out exactly how to craft them to make the biggest impact on people too, like, oh, I think I'm gonna be good. And I've gotten great feedback too from people. And I think it's just because I'm not up there sharing like studies about a topic or whatever. I'm sharing real lived experiences about something I'm really passionate about.
On the topic of connection, I have in May, we have our Camino retreat. And so it's a whole week long. And this is a place where you're diving deeper with yourself and with others out here in Spain. And so it's a walking retreat, so impactful, connecting to deeper levels of spirituality, yourself, faith, to an adventure, to a celebration, to culture, to Spain, to oh my gosh, it is absolutely life changing. And if you are interested, I want you to send me a DM on my Instagram, Jess Dahl with an underscore, or you can go to our Instagram, The Camino Retreat. Yeah, just send me a message because we have a few spots left. And I really believe in the power of connection and how this can absolutely transform your life. So excited for you if you feel the call. Totally. And I think that's the thing people are craving. You said that this is the most authentic way that you could be sharing about this because
Mhm.
it's a lived shared experience that only you really know. And then through that people feel it and people are craving that, not like a bunch of numbers, but like something that is real that they can experience, through you.
Mhm.
And also when you talked about being afraid to go and speak or whatever. I get afraid to do that, or if I'm facilitating something or whatever, every time. It doesn't matter how many times I do it. Or even before hopping on this podcast, like I get butterflies, and I'm doing my
Sure.
dancing. I'm like, I have to dance to like get into my body and be present. And it doesn't matter how many flipping times, but something that I realized is if having that feeling happens, it's actually a good thing because it just shows that you care.
Yeah.
And like you actually want it to land for people. You want to show up your best so people receive something. So they somehow are impacted. So when it does become about the other person and the other people, it's okay to be nervous because we just want to give that value and we just genuinely care. So just
Mhm.
that reminder if you ever forget.
Yeah, I'm always trying to tell myself like I'm not nervous, I'm excited.
Totally. Yep. Our
Yeah.
brain and our body doesn't know the difference.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. Um, so have there been like through all the people that you have met, have there been what's it called? Like a lot of similarities or common denominators of people that you're meeting? Like whether that be, oh, I in their story, it's like they're all looking for a certain thing in life or feeling a certain way. Like what are some themes that you've found through meeting everyone?
That so what in my talks I talk about this friend framework, which is just my evolution of the Ford framework. So Ford is family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So I just turned it into friend, it's family and relationships, industry, entertainment, needs and dreams.
Hmm.
And in 2020 March, so up to that point, I'd met 3,259 people in person. And I was never going to do a video call because I was like, I wanted to be forced to go where people are. But then obviously COVID changed that. So I went virtual and I ended up meeting people from over 90 countries around the world.
Mm.
And what I saw is it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, we all have a family dynamic. And like you may have a parent who's passed away, your parents may be divorced, you may have step parents, whatever. It doesn't matter. We all have a family dynamic and it has an impact on who we are emotionally.
Mm,
We all have some education path into something to pay the bills. Some people dropped out of school in eighth grade. Some people got their PhD. Some
mm,
people are teachers. Some people are creators. Like we
mm,
all have something that we're doing to pay the bills, and we all have hobbies of what we enjoy outside of work, and we all have dreams of what we want to do for the future. I think that was very interesting. It's like
mm,
people think we're so different, especially between countries, cultures, whatever. And like you really can't escape those themes. Every
mm,
human has those themes to their life.
mm,
And that for me was a really unifying thing to see because you just talk to people from around the world and they're like, oh yeah, my parents put pressure on me to pursue a certain career. Like, yeah, same. Or my parents expect me to be married by a certain age. Yeah, same. Or
mm,
I want to be loved by my loved ones and the friends that I have around me. Yeah. And I want to do something that's meaningful. So those themes have always jumped out. I've met a lot of people who want to help people. And I think that's a big driver of what people do, which is great because if you watch the news or if you just stick to social media, like you get this false reality that the world is a chaotic place, which it is, but you're seeing a very small percentage of the total experiences that are occurring in the world. Like what I've seen through my project is most people are just living very normal, wholesome lives.
mm,
Like the idea that our lives have to be so sensational and crazy is just not true. Like
mm,
most people are just living everyday lives that are
mhm,
very like simple and content. And I think that's okay. And I wish more people knew about that because
mm,
then they would feel comfortable when their own life felt that way.
hmm. Well, that's good. Yeah, and even people that are, maybe billionaires and speakers and authors and this and that, they also have family and they also have, maybe kids and they also have the same problems, just like what you're talking about. It's not just a certain classified type of person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's given me an appreciation for like if you know who Russ is, the artist, he'd always talk about like money doesn't buy happiness. And it definitely does. Like, I feel much more comfortable now having income than I did when
Mm-hmm.
I had $500 left. But I think he's talking more about like that point. They say like if you pass $75,000 or whatever, the marginal happiness, it's not like it doesn't go as much with your money going up. Um, and I feel like that's probably true. And I think a lot of people just are like, oh, well, no, for you maybe, but not for me. And, yeah, I think the true wealth is more in the wholesome things. Like I always say, I measure success by the amount of time I spend with the people I care about.
Mm,
So I could literally care less about what people think about the clothes I'm wearing on Instagram or if they think I'm successful or whatnot. Like, did I spend time with my grandfather this weekend? Yeah, that's great. Did I spend time with my mom for her birthday? Yeah, that's great. And like other people can't give me that. So
mm,
yeah,
hmm. Who are some of the people that are most important in your life right now?
definitely my family. I mean, I still have both my parents. They're still alive, still together. Um, my older sister, my older brother, their significant others. My sister and her husband have three kids, so they're a big part of my life. And then my good friends from Penn State and my close friends from high school, like they're all super important to me. And if I have the opportunity to spend time with them in a certain way, I'll make sure that I prioritize that.
Mm. What are your biggest priorities in life, along with connecting with those that you love?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. And then pushing this project forward
Mm-hmm.
is like a huge one in
Mm-hmm.
terms of one, reaching the goal, and two, growing as a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've noticed that with myself. Like, if I land a deal, I'm less excited about the money that I'm getting, and I'm more excited about the fact that I like won the deal.
Mm,
And I often think about people in business, like what is driving you? Like people who are successful, like who could stop and like why are you still doing this? And I feel like it's just the love of the game. Like
mm,
it's like
mm,
their adult version of playing basketball.
mm,
Uh, so I like the love of the game of going out and being in the running to land a gig and then landing that gig and having the opportunity to share my story. Um, Health is a big one, like just staying active. I try to go to the gym 3 days a week. I did the Philly Marathon last year, which was cool.
oh,
I'm
cool.
not like I don't like running. It was just a thing to do with my other college roommate who lives here in the Philly suburbs, which was really great because it forced us to spend a lot of time together.
I love that.
Um, yeah, and then um, yeah, that's a big priority. Enjoy like novelty and just enjoying things around me. Like I was skiing in Denver the other weekend. I love that being outdoors.
Hmm.
I was doing the moguls with my friends, and moguls were things that gave me trouble in the past. So doing that was a lot of fun because I felt like I was growing in that moment. So I'm
Hmm.
very attracted to things that make me feel like I'm growing. Sometimes it's reading, sometimes it's like exploring new music, going out to concerts. But yeah, those are the big things. And I think like dating this year, that was on the back burner for me for so long. And I think now that I've achieved like a foundation of stability financially with the project, it's like, okay, let's add some of those other milestones in that I put off to get to this point.
Mm, that's interesting. So, did you feel that you had to be at a certain place financially to feel secure enough to start dating?
Um, I think it definitely helped. I think
Hmm.
it was just like I was just not as interested in dating as I
Mm,
was in doing this. I feel like dating you can get obviously like it pulls your focus into the place of the relationship, and maybe it was just me protecting myself where I was like, I need my focus to be like, I don't want to get to a place where I'm like, oh, this gig doesn't matter because I've got this girlfriend and like life is so good right now.
right.
I wanted, and then I think too, that was another thing crossing 30. It's not truly the case, but I always joked, I'm like, after 30, girls aren't looking for a guy with a dream. Like they're looking for a little bit of stability. So I was like, I'm gonna self-select myself out of the dating pool for now. But yeah, but I also like I dated a girl 2 summers ago, and I felt my attention, or maybe it was last summer. What I felt my attention being pulled more towards the project, and I was like, okay, that's not good for her
Mm,
or me. Yeah.
mm. So, do you feel that in this season that when you find someone, you're looking for somebody that's going to continue to draw you closer to your project?
I don't think that they have to draw me closer to my project. I just think I naturally have to be drawn to them, obviously, but
Mhm.
it's a weird thing to say, but I I go with my gut in a
Mm,
lot of situations, and like logically I should have stayed at Deloitte and built my career there.
yeah.
I would probably have the house and the car and all that stuff now. But my gut was like, no, you have to go towards this project, and I can't do things that go against my gut.
Mm,
So there have been times where like I've dated girls that logically would be a really good choice, but my
mm,
gut was like, okay, this isn't it. So
mm,
uh, I don't measure it in terms of is she bringing me closer to my project or this or that. It's just like, do I feel my attention naturally being pulled towards her?
mm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was just curious because I do think that there's a way in which we can have healthy relationships. Like I know my partner, for example, he does such a good job at encouraging me in like my
Mhm.
calling and my projects. Like he loves watching me. He came to one of my retreats and he was just like blown away. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm in the hands of an amazing woman. And he's like,
Mhm.
keep going, babe. Like, can I help you? You know? And so it's really encouraging to be with somebody that is actually pushing me toward that, where
Yeah.
our relationship it doesn't feel like I'm pulled ever. It's like I get to co-create with my partner and live my full dream. And I feel like
Sure.
there's a way in which that happens. That's a value for me though. So I'm just curious because with people with a big vision in life, it's like to have a partner that understands that and encourages them in that way is actually important.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think if she were like, "Hey, like don't be spending so much time with the project or like you don't need to finish that," then it'd be like we wouldn't even get to the point where we'd be dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you mind me asking what you're looking for in someone?
No, I don't mind you asking. I think that I'm attracted to people who are super ambitious in their own lives,
Mm,
like working towards a goal that makes me feel like, oh, like I'm inspired by the way they're working towards their dream. It makes me want to work towards mine even harder. Um, and people who are super open to like all different cultures and lifestyles, like I have had to be for my project. I think just that care and compassion for other people is something that is important for me.
mm-hmm,
In a perfect world, like someone who is close with their family and close with their friends as well. Like I hesitate when I meet someone who has like a bunch of drama in their friend group. I'm like,
mm,
I don't have that in my life, and I don't know if I want to be around that. But yeah, someone who can help me grow as well. Like they have their own interests that they're like into and exploring and passionate about. So yeah, all of those qualities I think are ones that I enjoy, and also just like a best friend is what I'm basically like. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, okay, I used to not be able to go to restaurants in Philly because I couldn't afford it.
mm-hmm,
Now I can go, but I don't want to just go and eat there by myself. Like I'm fine to eat by myself. I do it when I travel, but uh, I want to be there with someone whose company I really enjoy. So, and I think that if you're multifaceted and interested and passionate about a bunch of things, then it makes the conversations easy to flow.
totally. I love that. Well, cool. Now any ladies that are listening, they
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I can't wait to hear whenever something does happen.
Sure.
Um, yeah. So do you do you feel really happy in your life right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm constantly reminded of what I have because I'm
Mm,
meeting so many other people who've been through different challenges and and their own triumphs. I always say I operate on a scale of gratitude to possibility.
mm-hmm,
Like if someone doesn't have something that I have, I'm grateful that I have it in my life.
mm-hmm,
But oftentimes we don't become aware of that until we interact with someone who doesn't have it. I do that every week. But on the other side, if people have things that I don't have, I'm like, oh, okay, that means it's possible. Uh, so yeah, I think I'm very happy in my life. And it's cool too to because so many people would look at me, especially when I was starting this journey, starting it full time, and be like, "What do you like?" I remember parents of people that I knew being like, "What's he gonna do? Like, he's gonna meet 10,000 people, and then no one's gonna hire him to for an entry level job." And I'm like, if you're if you're thinking that the only thing you could do after meeting 10,000 people is fail to get an entry level job, like you're just not thinking on the same level. I can't even entertain that. So to have a vision and be like, I feel like I can get to a point where I can survive off of this journey, and to now be at that point where
mm-hmm,
I'm growing as a speaker, that feels really good. Like there's a huge sense of accomplishment with
mm,
that. And now it's like, oh, okay, what I have the flexibility. Like if I wanted to go take a trip somewhere, I could do that. Uh, so yeah, I do feel happy because I'm meeting the people, which was always something that made me happy.
mm-hmm,
I'm now able to speak about it and make money, which is great. I've got my family that I'm hanging out with.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, the ducks are in a row.
I love that. Yeah, it's always just interesting. I'm genuinely always curious about if people feel happy. They're searching for some sort of fulfillment or and again, like I also think happiness, comes and goes. Like there's a level of an internal joy despite our circumstances, whether we have a lot or don't have a lot. Like we can still have like an internal joy, but happiness goes up and down
Yeah.
um, based off of circumstance. But yeah, I'm definitely always just curious, for people in their journey, especially with something like this, that you're doing something that is actually very meaningful.
Hmm.
If that brings like what brings the happiness. So it sounds like to you like the connection, like feeling like you can provide where you don't have to worry about stuff. You have the people around you that you love.
Hmm.
And sounds like those are really important to you for your happiness.
Yeah. And I think it's always just recalibrating to make sure
Yeah.
you're there. When I met with Matt, he told me something that for him was just an offhand comment, but he was talking about yes theory in their earlier days, and he was like, we started to feel like we were stalling as a channel, and we just had to remind ourselves to follow the fun. And he's like, once we started following the fun, it was like the audience just picked up on that, and they really started to come in. And I was like, follow the fun is such a good piece of advice for
Mm,
people because we just lose sight of what fun is, and then we get off the track. And if
mm-hmm.
you can redefine what fun is for you and you steer towards that direction, then you're going to be sailing with the wind at your back. So yeah, that's like skiing is fun for me, and I want to be outdoors more. So I'm like maybe I could join um like a Philly like camping group or something like that, or whatever it might be. Like if I can define what fun is and then just steer my life towards that, like I'll be good to go. Yeah, but a lot of people forget that they have to define what fun is.
Totally. A lot of people, honestly, and especially at like a turning point, 30, 40, you get to a point where you're married, you have kids,
Mhm.
kind of forget yourself in a way of like, oh, I know what's fun for everybody else, but what is that for me? And it makes me
Yeah.
think of that one quote. I don't remember exactly how it goes. I always butcher quotes.
Mhm.
But about the world really needs more people to come alive
Mm.
or more people fully alive. And it makes me think of that too. Like if you follow what makes you come alive, whether that's your definition of fun, then more people are attracted to that because you're fully alive, you're fully you, you're doing the things that make that spark come out, that joy, that fun, that aliveness. And then other people want to be a part of whatever the heck you're doing because they're like, I want
Yeah.
some of that. I want some of
Hmm.
that vibrancy. I want some of that fun. I want some of that aliveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great gauge. I always think about that. I'm like, what makes me come fully alive? And then I go toward that.
Yeah.
And that's where I see the beauty and magic actually happen rather than like chugging through all this, like, okay, I have to do this, or this is what so and so said is the best way. And I'm like, oh no, like this is really what attracts me. And then I'm
Hmm.
having a good time and other
Yeah.
people are having a great time too.
Yeah. You're like creating gravity around that
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Yeah. It's like I always think of creation, like energy, in motion. And when we're doing that, we're creating, and people want to be a part of creating,
Hmm.
whatever that may be. Um, yeah, I love that. And then I was curious too about your experiences with people that you've met. Has there been someone that's really like a story that's really, really, really inspired you that you can remember? I'm sure many, but like just one that comes to
Yeah.
mind.
There's a ton there. Recently in May of last year, I was like May 5th or something, I was driving and I was rear-ended by this car,
Mm,
and like I was able to still drive my car and stuff. I had to take it to the shop to get the bumper fixed, and um the I had to take it like 2 weeks later. So I was parked outside of my place here in Philly. Actually, I had a meeting on a Monday. So I went to that meeting and then I had to park the car until Wednesday when I had to take it to the shop. And so 2 days later, I went out to take the car to the shop and it had been hit in an entirely new place. Like someone hit and run it here in the city,
oh no.
like all new damage. Yeah. So super frustrating. And the mechanic was like, oh, this is a lot. Like they might have to total the car and this and that. And so it's just one of those things where like your idea of how the week is going to go just gets broken down. And it put me into a negative space of like, man, this week's not good. And that was on a Wednesday. And then 2 days later, I met this woman who came down from Brooklyn to meet me. And she's like in her 70s. And we met at the art museum in Philly where Rocky runs up the stairs. And we're sitting out there and she was telling me about her three daughters and how in 2019 her middle daughter became the victim of a murder suicide.
Oh my God.
And in New York, like her daughter's boyfriend shot her and then turned the gun on himself. Her daughter's son was in the other room. So it's a tragic situation.
Wow.
And my conversation with her was a very heavy one. And like she's crying, I'm crying. We're sitting on the steps of the Rockies, or we're sitting on these rocky steps at the art museum. And I think she just told me some things in that moment that like really made me think about humanity. Because she was saying on the subway in New York, she'll see someone that looks like her daughter, and she can't not stare at them. And she's like, the other people get uncomfortable because they think I'm like staring at them. She's like, but I can't look away because I feel like I'm seeing my daughter.
Wow.
And to me, is like the both sides of that experience are so wild that one person's thinking like this lady's crazy, and the other person's thinking like that's my daughter over there, and I can't look
Wow.
away. And it's just like you can't get. I've enjoyed hearing those very poignant human experiences through chatting with people. And she was telling me too, she said grief has a chair in my home and it sits there. She's like, it sits in the corner and sometimes it stands. And it was just super powerful to hear what she was going through. And meanwhile, like I thought my car was a big deal. And as I talked to her, it's like, okay, my car is not a big deal.
Hmm.
Like this woman is sitting here wishing with all her might that she still had her daughter in her life. My car is in the shop. It's going to be back in a few weeks. And uh, the contrast of that really stuck with me of what I was feeling and what I thought was an issue in my life, and then really getting to chat with someone who did have an issue in their life. So, yeah, I've thought about her a lot since I've met her. And I think that's been the benefit of continuous. Like, I had a conversation with a guy who was like, yeah, isn't that a shame when like you lose a family member, you have some tragic experience in your life, like you get into the mindset of live every day like your last or this or that. And he's like, but then it wears off, you snap back into the routine of life. And I was like, not for me, because every week I'm meeting people. So every week I'm hearing stories of people that actually have real problems, or I'm constantly plotting reference points of where my life fits in the grand scheme of things.
Hmm.
And because of that, I never lose sight of how to truly live my life.
Hmm.
But yeah, she was definitely one of the more powerful ones that I've heard in May. Uh, and then I've heard many more since meeting her that have similarly impacted me. But yeah, she's one of them.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. Have you ever reached out to her and told her how much that's impacted you?
I no, I haven't told her that, but in the moment we were, yeah, it was a pretty deep connection.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you have her info,
Hmm.
definitely maybe someday let her know because I
Oh
know
yeah,
it's yeah, it's super impactful when you've gone through so much hardship and then knowing that even sharing your story had an impact.
sure.
Where you feel like it's like the worst thing in the world, but oh my gosh, if I could have impacted this one person,
Hmm.
not maybe the thing is worth it, but being able to share authentically is worth it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah. No, I've kind of found that similar to that where I don't know, like I think success with like even things we're talking about, speaking or writing books or doing all these cool things are really amazing, but I find a lot of things that inspire me most is when people really go through challenge and struggle and then who they become on the other side and their character and their process. And those are the things that I actually personally look through in people. I'm like, okay, cool, it's great you've done all this stuff, but what's been your challenge? Like, I mean, you shared your challenge of like not having any money and like living in these different places and like you had your challenges, but I think that that's something that no matter what connects us all that I
Hmm.
found personally. And I'm sure you have too, where it's like, oh, we all go through some form of challenge or suffering. And to be able to connect on that level and learn from each other, I don't know, I have found invaluable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the vulnerable place is where
Mm-hmm.
a true connection happens.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Have you had to be really vulnerable in your, or do you find yourself being vulnerable in your conversations, or is it more like you're asking them a lot of questions and them being vulnerable, or how's that been?
It's both. I have no problem being vulnerable with people I'm chatting with, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people don't ask questions of me. I always try to frame it like, hey, this is not an interview. This is us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a two-way conversation of us getting to know each other. Uh, but still, some people will be like, oh, I know you're supposed to ask me all the questions. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Oh, that's
We're just
hilarious. Do
here to
you feel
chat.
weird like when people don't ask you questions or like if it seems more interviewy?
I mean, I can very easily like take the role of asking questions the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer it to be a two-way street because it just makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
The time flies by in that sense. But yeah, I have no problem telling people about my path, and like I'm an open book with it too. It was interesting in like after I was on Kelly Clarkson's talk show, I got the blue check mark on my Instagram thing back when it like meant something. And
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting because people perceive you in a certain way. And they're like, "Oh, I see you're killing it."
Oh,
Like,
totally. I used to have people be like, "Oh, do you have the blue check mark?" Before I had one too, and it was like a
yeah,
just it felt weird. I was like, "Oh, I'm not good enough," or yeah,
yeah. But I was like, it's such a joke
yeah.
because I mean, it's cool if people like it. Like, it's cool to get that accomplishment or whatever. But people be like, "Oh, you're killing it," and I'm like, yeah, like you're perceiving me as killing it, but I can't move out of my parents' house because I don't
Mm,
have enough money to afford my own place. Like I
mm,
wouldn't really define that as killing it. Uh, and I like being very open with people because I'm like, hey, this is what it actually takes. Because if someone else is pursuing their dream
mhm,
and they're like, oh, well, look at him, like everything is going fine for him, like he's just everything's going his way. And it's like, no, it appears that way, despite the fact that like I have no money or it hasn't taken off yet. Uh, then when they're in that same situation, they're like, oh, okay, well, Rob was living at his parents until he was 30 years old, and I can do that too, or whatever. So they don't feel bad about their own path. And I think I've always been that way because I think social media is such the opposite of that, where people try to pretend they're so much better than they actually are. And I understand why they do it. It's like the fake it till you make it type thing.
mhm,
But I've just I've never liked being that way. I'm always like, I want to show you the reality of what
mm,
it is so you can see when your reality matches up that that's okay.
mm. I love that. I love that. Once again, people are starving for that
Hmm.
authenticity and like, you know, he's not way up here and it's hard to grasp that. It's like, oh no, he's been exactly where you are, maybe one step ahead of you,
Hmm.
and then another step, like, there's it's not that much further
Yeah.
than what you really think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you probably would have done differently in your journey looking back?
I probably would have tried to start speaking earlier. I think
Mm,
I think I could have gotten into it earlier. Uh, I think that I would have taken more advantage of TikTok when that first became a thing
mm,
because I feel like my project did play well there, and it was a very like TikTok-y type thing.
mm,
And uh I just was not focused on like trying to create social media content. I just wanted to meet people and share their stories as a byproduct.
mm,
And I think probably the same with Instagram Reels. I feel like to be determined. We'll have to see in hindsight, but part of me is like I refuse to always be chasing an algorithm to try to
mm,
get in front of people.
mhm,
And I think luckily like the project is established enough at this point where it's just humming along.
Hmm.
Um, but it would certainly be like I get less messages now of people to meet than I did back in 2018 when we met. And
Hmm.
it's just because less people are seeing my stuff on social media because I didn't play the whole algorithm thing. So part of me is like, I don't want to be like Kodak that refused to adapt. And then as a result, you get left behind.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely would have caught those trends earlier when it was much easier to be part of because I feel like everything is so saturated now.
Hmm.
Um, that's I feel like that's it. I mean, a part of me is sometimes like, oh, maybe I would capture more video content and whatnot, but the project is so much more of like, hey, we're just here to be in the moment and connect with each other, and I'll share like a little snippet afterwards. But I get frustrated with the current state of social media because then you had all these people like on the street interview style, and it changed human connection to instead of like we're here to connect with each other, it was like I'm here to get a soundbite out of you or for you to say something crazy that I can throw out on social media that's gonna get a ton of views and whatnot. And like people instead of connecting with each other, they just started using each other for content, and I hate that.
I
Yeah.
know. I was actually just chatting with Matt about that because I have a nonprofit side. We do work with like human trafficking and other things like that, other vulnerable populations, and it's tough because you want to, or me, I want to really share these stories. It's so impactful that I want people to see it and know what's going on and the work that we do and all that. But then I don't want to in every moment like have a video there or, a camera there
Mhm.
or so it's such a weird thing that I still deal with that I'm like, how do we, looking forward, get these stories more so out there so more people know
Yeah.
and can be a part of something that's actually so life changing and impactful. And at the same time, just have this because when I'm with that, it's like you're in. There's nothing else that matters. That's it. So it's fascinating. We were having that conversation yesterday, so I'm sure it's kind of that same feeling that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like sometimes you have to play the game to a certain extent and maybe not, but yeah, I'm like waiting for social media to shift again. I feel like we've been
Mm-hmm.
in this current chapter for like 5 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just waiting to see what's next.
Do you think
Because
it'll change or kind of go back to what it used to be, or do you think it's going to change for the better or the worse, or no idea?
I don't know, but I do feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people like the first time, like I don't know if you have seen. I think Matt was already gone, but the Yes Theory guys, they did a video with Drew Binsky where they were like riding like this coal train in like Morocco or something, and they got like the goggles on, and it's like yeah, basically like a train full of like coal that's going across the country or whatever. And I saw that, I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like what a cool adventurous experience.
Hmm.
And now I feel like I've seen like 15 other influencers do that same train ride. And it's like,
Whoa.
oh, like that is not as exciting as to me anymore.
Yeah.
Or like the first time I saw someone traveling through the Philippines with a cool beach in the background, it's like, whoa, that's so cool. And
Yeah.
the 50th time I saw it, I was like, okay, like I've seen it. And
Yeah.
I think there was so much of this, let me show how like cool and adventurous my life is that all those things became normal because you started to see them so often. So
Mm.
I feel like the next phase is like, how do people know you're cool if you're not even talking about it? Like, if you are someone that is living a cool life and you're not posting about it, and people still somehow know you're cool,
Mm.
to me, I think that's the next version of cool. I have no idea what that looks like,
Hmm.
but it's almost like you're too cool to post about it because you're just so busy living your life that like you don't need to do it. Does that make sense?
So you're sorry, are you saying that it's that you think that you are cool if you're posting about it, or you are cool if you don't post about it because you're so busy living your life?
Yeah, the second, like you're like it's like the celebrities that don't have Instagram because they're so successful they don't need it. You know what I mean? It's like,
So that's what you think is gonna start happening, and people are gonna want to be off of it and not posting as much.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Like if like I think people will always want the validation of others, but it's like if you can get that validation and you're not even the one pushing it,
Hmm.
I have no idea how this happens, by the way, but
Hmm.
I think that will be, to me, that's my prediction for what like the next level of cool is.
Hmm. I could see that in a way of where, because at least a lot of conversations that I have is people don't actually like being on social media. Like they're
Mhm.
doing it because that's what's going to push their business or their project or their thing, but they don't really like actually being on there.
Yeah.
Um, so I could see that becoming a thing where it's just like, yeah, I don't even like being on there. So if you want to find me, get on my email list or text
Yeah.
me or meet me in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. So I have no idea how that happens because obviously there's millions of people that are putting content out.
Yeah,
Like you're
totally, totally.
but yeah,
Which
I
I
don't know.
mean
I could
also is like interesting because people like want to become creators now. Like they want to become insta
hmm,
famous. They want to make money. All the young kids think, okay, well, I don't want a real job because I just want to post on Instagram once and get six figures. And
yeah. Can't blame them.
no, I mean, I can't blame them
Yeah.
either. But just now everybody wants to become a content creator for that reason. So people are more so what I've seen and heard anyway and talked to.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard something different,
Oh
but
no, same. Yeah.
okay. But yeah, they're like going more towards, okay, I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to go take this course or I'm just going to start posting stuff.
Mhm.
Um, which is just an interesting world in itself too. I don't know. Just lots of thoughts are going through my head right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I do think about okay, a world in which at the end of the day people are starving for real authentic connection. Like I experiencing after COVID, people want in-person stuff more so is what I'm seeing. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I think so. I think not having it made people want to have it
Hmm.
again. But yeah, I do think it's different than pre-COVID. I feel like I get canceled on more often now than I did pre-COVID. And I don't
Hmm.
know. I think that's like a post-COVID thing or I don't know. I think there's a lot of complacency of like not going out now or just sitting at home since people got used to that in COVID. But I do think that there's still the desire to be out and about with people.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, total. That's interesting about the getting canceled more on. I mean, at the end of the day, we went through a traumatic experience, like the whole entire world, where I've heard that it's just going to take years and years and years to recover. And it's just never going to be the same world that we've lived in. And so
Sure.
I think everybody's just trying to figure out what does that even look like for me in this world these days? Where's my
Hmm.
nervous system at? What matters to me? And I think everybody's just on their own figuring that out,
Hmm.
which is fascinating. So, what would you tell your younger self if you could tell yourself anything?
Um, I would tell my younger self to I always say the biggest thing I've learned from this journey is no one really knows what they're doing with their lives. Everyone's just doing the best they can with the resources that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I would tell my younger self that because I think in high school we all feel like everyone but me has it figured out. Like everyone
Mm-hmm.
else is cool or everyone else knows what they're doing for college or everyone else knows how to talk to girls or this or that. And it's just like everyone is figuring it out. And I feel like I'm now ahead of that instead of behind it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so you talk about like the people who are like millionaires or whatever, who are successful, they still have insecurities and uncertainties. They're
Mm-hmm.
still figuring it out. Like everyone is an amateur when it comes to reaching the next level of expertise. So I now understand that. And as a result, I don't live with a lot of pressure on my shoulders because I'm like, no one else knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And uh at all stages too, like you talk to new parents and they're like, they just send you home with the baby. And you're like, are you sure? Like, isn't there like a guidebook I need or whatever? And uh, yeah, or like someone who does a career shift in their 40s or 30s. It's all of that stuff. So I think I would tell that to my younger self because I think as a result, you become more confident, not because you just don't have insecurities or uncertainties, but because you no longer let them control you.
Mm.
And yeah, I think I would have just been a more, not that like I was confident in high school and stuff, but I think I would have been further along if I had thought that way.
Mm. I love that. It's so freaking true. So true.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you were a gift to the world, what would you be?
If I was a gift to the world, what would I be?
Hmm.
Uh, I would be a generator of empathy, which is, I think, what I am. And that's kind of, I feel like my purpose is to infuse more empathy into the world. And
Mm.
I do that through one-on-one meetings with people. I do that through one-to-many interactions through my speaking. I'll do that in the future through whatever comes next. But yeah, I think more empathy, creating more empathy for the world.
Wow, I love that. Hmm. And if you could tell someone to go live their life and pursue their dreams, passion, or their purpose, what would you tell them to do?
If it is, well, one, try to like figure out what that passion or purpose is. And if you can, if it's truly your passion or purpose, just start and never stop. Like if you're chasing a dream, because most people are going to be like, "Oh, I'm super passionate about this thing. Like I'm just waiting for the right moment to take the leap.
Mm.
I'm just waiting until I have everything together first." And if you're waiting, you're never going to do it. And I always say if I'd thought of everything that I could have thought of for this project and planned as much as I could have before starting it, I would have thought of about 5% of what I know now.
Mm.
Like inevitably, you don't know what you don't know. So you can't plan for what you don't know. You just have to walk the path and encounter it and then come up with the solution as you encounter the problem. Uh, and if you're doing it and you're super passionate about it, and then like you get like me to a place where you have $500 left and you're like, oh man, I feel like this is coming down to the end. You can just choose not to stop.
Mm.
Like there's always a path forward. I could have gotten a full-time job and still met 5 people a week or whatever. There's always a path forward. So like if you just start and never stop, eventually you'll get to the place where you're trying to go.
Mm. So good. Yes. How can people find you, Rob?
On Instagram at Rob's 10K Friends is where I keep track of everyone's story that I meet. And then all my speaking stuff is just roblawless.com. So they're curious about any of that. But yeah, those are like the two main places.
I love that. And then how many more people do you have to meet to hit your 10,000?
Just under 3,200.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This was incredible. And I'm
yeah,
inspired and excited for everybody listening. Please go check him out. Go to his Instagram, go to his page, send him a message, go meet him in person. He's super awesome.
yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much again, Rob. You're the best.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to reconnect after 7 years now, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a
yeah,
while. It was
yeah.
amazing.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.